I'm really digging the animation that I've made of my arm traveling from the left to the right, but it's looking a little bit robotic. Let me play you what I have so far. Generally speaking, we're in the ballpark. But yeah, it just looks a little bit robotic. It looks like just three spheres riding on a railroad track. It doesn't have that sense of organic life that I'm looking for. And I think the easy solution to this is to remember one of our principles of animation, arcs. If you look very carefully at that top sphere, it's just going left and right, as if it's on a railroad track. It's kind of boring. It's kind of dull. We can infuse a little bit more visual interest and a tremendous amount of life by putting it along an arced path. And I think that's going to be my goal. Now is the perfect time to infuse this layer of detail into my drawings because I only have a few of them and I haven't done any of my in-betweens yet. Let's go ahead and start adding this in. Now, luckily, and this is a good time to do it, because luckily we have a really good solid understanding of where this arc needs to be. Because on this frame establishes the beginning, and then it goes over on this frame. Let's see, frame 15 is where we overshoot it, and then frame 20 is where we end up. Okay, so I want to make an arc. I want it to have it go down and then back, as if it's dipping its shoulder down, perhaps. Okay, so let's make a new guide layer. I want to make a new animation layer, and we'll just call this arc. There we go. I'm going to lock my arms because I don't want to mess with the drawings at the moment. I just want to start plotting and planning out some arcs. Let's also make a new material. I have one called guide. It's just a solid line. Shoot, let's make it some dots. That's always kind of fun. And we'll make it a lovely shade of light blue. That way we can visually separate it from the mix. There we go. Let's make sure that the guide material is selected before we jump in to the curve tool and start figuring out how all this is going to work. All right, so I know that I want to have my arc go from this dot over to maybe right around in there. This is the termination point of the entire movement. So this is where the arc needs to conclude. However, let's start figuring out what this path is going to look like. It doesn't need to be too extreme, but it does need to be there. Believe it or not, the human brain does a fantastic job of figuring out what these arcs are going to look like. So it's going to dip down, or they're there, excuse me. It's going to dip down, and then I want it to kind of come back up in a circle. I want this to be both the conclusion of its movement left and right, but I think I also want it to have it come back around on the top. Having it come back down may look a little weird, but having it come back around the top on a new arc, on a separate arc, may be kind of fun. So let's add that in real fast. Let's get 2 different arcs. The next one's going to be created kind of right around in here. And we'll go just very quickly somewhere right around like that. Yeah, and with my drawings, I'll be able to kind of smooth this out a little bit. But at least now I have a plan, something that I can very quickly materialize across all of the keyframes in my animation. All right, next up, now that we've got that plan done, let's go in and start figuring out how we can adjust the keyframes to accommodate this new detail in my animation. All right, in addition, I accidentally put my arc keyframe on frame 15. That's okay, we just need a keyframe. I want to move it over here to frame 1. That way I see that keyframe throughout the entirety of my animation. Remember, it's going to hold a drawing until it gets to another one. So it's going to hold the drawing on frame 1 on my arcs animation layer indefinitely because there's not another keyframe. Let's go and lock that arc's path down, unlock arms, and let's get to work. All right, apologies, I accidentally orbited with my keyboard and mouse. And let's go into edit mode and start editing our keyframes. All right. So this first keyframe looking pretty good. I'm going to select everything, and let's go to the next keyframe here. Okay, here we go. Next keyframe. This next keyframe, we haven't changed its location yet, so it's pretty good. Let's go to the next keyframe. This is that anticipatory movement. And now here on frame 15, yeah, okay. This is where the arc process began. And what the computer is really kind of demanding us create is another keyframe that represents the conclusion of this movement at the bottom of the arc. So before we handle all of this in here, all of these keyframes, let's space everything out, move it down 5 frames, and add in a passing pose, okay? This passing pose is going to define the bottom of the arc. Since we're adding new details in here, we need to establish the extreme conclusion of that arc with a keyframe. All right, let's make sure everything's selected. Yep, we're here, rock and roll perfectly. Let's grab it. And I'm just going to get it close. Yeah, and what my brain is looking at, I can just barely see the center line of that rectangle that kind of creates the arm. And I'm just going to put the center of that line on the center of the dotted line. Yeah, that's looking pretty cool. Now, we also can't forget to pose the rest of our character in this as well. This is a key drawing. If you look at the future, the next keyframe, we have this weighted section and this bottom arm heavily bent. So we should start to, pose it in that realm as well. All right, I'm going to drop my selection, grab that center circle, hit Shift S, cursor to selected. I accidentally turned my cursor off earlier. Let me turn it back on. There we go. I like to have it on when I'm using it just to really be sure that it's placed where I want it to be. And we'll grab these bottom bits in here. And you know what? I did it backwards. I apologize. We forgot to rotate the middle. So let's Shift S and put the cursor in the middle of this top circle. We'll grab everything. We'll rotate it. Yeah, and what I'm looking at here is the angle of this top arm. Of course, this is a circle. We're not going to see its change in orientation, but the angle of this top arm should be suggestive that it's going to get to this angle here in a moment. It's not wildly different from the previous keyframe, which is by design, so I'm in the ballpark. All right, same thing on the bottom one, Shift S, move our cursor. Let's rotate these up here a little bit. Now, we're just at the beginning of the movement, so just a little bit of rotation is all we really need. Not as extreme as this one over there. Yeah, that's working. Let's play it, see what we get. And that passing pose in the middle is working really well. It feels like that small arm is traveling behind it. Yeah, I'm digging that. That's exciting. I'm really super excited about this. Okay, let's finish out the job over here by zeroing in on these keyframes at the top. Because we need to insert another passing pose between its current location and the conclusion of the arc on frame 25 in my case. Okay, so I'm going to grab all these keyframes, move them down by 5 frames. That way I have a nice kind of spot in here to put that passing frame. Naturally, we'll go in and retime all these drawings once we're done, but we need to get the structure before we can do that. All right, let's grab all of our shapes by hitting A. And this is where it gets to be a little bit of fun. So we're going to put it kind of right in the middle of that shape once more. Our onion skinning is really going to be a big helper for us. I'm thinking I'm going to push it further than what the line is telling me because I'm looking at the onion skinning and I want to make sure that that is just maybe a little bit more exaggerated so the audience sees that curvature. If it's a real shallow arc on the movement of that top sphere, the audience is probably not going to see it. I'm going to exaggerate it ever so slightly, push it further than what I had planned, just to make sure the audience sees it. All right. Now, with that passing frame done, we need to look at the keyframes a little bit more constructively as well, just like we did in the previous passing pose. Let's go back to our object data properties, and let's see what we can see here. Okay, so this we're seeing 1 frame before, and then 2 frames after, which is kind of confusing my brain a little bit. So let's just really make sure I'm seeing what I want to see here. Okay. All right, so blue is future. So this is where it's going to be in a moment. So in this moment in time, the big center sphere is starting to rotate forward. Okay, let's do it real fast. Let's grab everything. Excuse me, I forgot to reset my 3D cursor. Let's grab that top sphere, Shift S, put the cursor right in the middle. Now we can grab everything and rotate it forward. Maybe I might just linearly interpolate. Just kind of put it right here in the center. Maybe slightly more, or slightly off from vertical. I try real hard whenever I'm making my poses not to have the lines be perfectly straight up and down and perfectly horizontal. It kind of flattens the image, kind of ruins the idea that organic shapes are moving inside the scene. So I want to make it just a little bit more to the right, just to give it a little bit of an angle. Yeah, we'll see how that works here in a minute. We also can't forget about the posing of this bottom section. Let's put the 3D cursor in the middle of the big sphere, grab these bottom 2 arms, and this is where it gets to be a whole lot of fun. Okay, so if you look carefully here, this is the weight of the center. At this moment in time, it still should be dragging behind the weighted center. So I don't want to have it be straight up and down. Definitely don't want to have it to be that way. That's looking incorrect at the moment. But I think I wanted to have a little bit of an angle in there. Maybe like that. Cool. Let's see how it looks. Let's zoom out. Let's play our animation. See how it looks. I'm loving it. That arc has added so much more additional life to this movement, and I'm really, really enjoying what I've created. These movement arcs are a fantastic way of reminding our audience that even something as mechanical as an arm going from the left to the right is infused with its organic qualities of life. Look to add them in. Add the passing poses, though, that defines where the ball is going to be at the apex or at the trough of the arcs, and I think you're going to find that your animation is just going to spring to life.